Medina gave birth at 5 years old, making her the youngest mother in recorded history.
How?
Her parents took her to the hospital when they saw an increasing abdominal size that they were worried was a tumor. The doctor quickly found that she was in her 7th month of pregnancy. 6 weeks later, Lena gave birth by C-section to a 6-pound baby boy named Gerardo, which was also the name of the doctor who helped her. The doctors found that her body had fully matured through a rare condition called precocious puberty.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day. That really means a lot to me, man. Also, commented down below, man, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. You guys are helping grow in the community. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do best secrets. Say it with me, y'all. I know what we do. Let's seek the truth.
This is why you should be scared of Ouija boards. A former Reddit user said that he used a Ouija board with results and let something into his home. He said that he has also been physically assaulted by this entity. He said that it started out with a feeling that he was being watched, doors closing and footsteps on the hardwood floor when he was home alone. All of this slowly progressed into being kept awake by something shaking the bed and pulling off the covers. He said that sometimes he even heard whispers of his name. The board would disappear for days on end and then show up in places that he never even put it. He became obsessed with it. Things got even worse though. He said that he began to see a black mass in the corner of the room and the silhouette of a man watching him from the doorway. One night, the paranormal activity escalated into a full-blown attack. He said that he had his hair pulled, fingers pricked, and that he was choked while being held down in bed. During the attack, he claims that this thing whispered into his ear in what could have only been Latin. After this event, he finally decided to have his house blessed. And fortunately, this entity hasn't shown back up. He said that he will never again play with one of those boards.
Smart choice.
With incredible backstories. Lena Medina gave birth at 5 years old, making her the youngest mother in recorded history.
How?
Her parents took her to the hospital when they saw an increasing abdominal size that they were worried was a tumor. The doctor quickly found that she was in her 7th month of pregnancy. 6 weeks later, Lena gave birth by C-section to a 6-pound baby boy named Gerardo, which was also the name of the doctor who helped her. The doctors found that her body had fully matured through a rare condition called precocious puberty. One doctor in a detailed report on her case said that she had her first menstrual cycle at 8 months old. Lena's father was arrested on suspicion of child abuse but was later let go due to lack of evidence, and the father was never identified. Gerardo was raised believing that Lena was his sister until at 10 years old he found out that she was his mother. Gerardo passed away at the age of 40 due to bone marrow disease, but Lena is still alive at 88 years old. Follow for more.
Whoa.
Scary
That's
facts you
disturbing.
wish you never knew.
When you receive a kidney transplant, they don't replace your old kidney with the new one. They just add the new one, leaving you with 3 kidneys.
Come again?
Hearing is the last sense you lose before dying. Now, you can check if your phone activity is being monitored. Just click on share, slide all the way to the end, click more. And if any apps appear before your contacts, you should delete it immediately. Your stomach acid is so strong it could dissolve a razor blade. Some people who survive bear attacks report hearing the sound of the bear's teeth scraping against their skulls. There is an abandoned mall under the Twin Towers Memorial, and it got damaged in the attacks, and it has not been touched ever since.
Bad energy there. There's a reason why that mall is closed. You all know why.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night.
Talk
The
about it.
Voynich manuscript is an ancient book full of symbols and drawings that no one can translate till this day. Dracula was based on a real person. Vlad Dracula, a Romanian ruler that very much enjoyed watching people bleed to death. In 1963, the Bronx Zoo had an exhibition called The Most Dangerous Animal in the World. It was a mirror. Two fishermen used their dead friend's ashes as fishing bait and they caught the world's biggest carp. These are how Halloween costumes looked like in the 30s. If Earth stopped spinning for 1 second, everything and everyone will die instantly. A new homeowner found an old doll boarded up in his wall holding a note saying she killed a family in this house. This house is named the John Lawson House, and nobody knows who lives here. Every day, this porch is occupied by a number of female mannequins. The number of mannequins, the positions they're in, and the clothes they wear are changed every day, and no one knows who is doing this and why. Like for part 18.
Okay, who's putting those mannequins up?
This is where
Real question.
the worst gangsters in El Salvador are incarcerated with no hope of ever being released. Some of them are serving sentences of up to 800 or 900 years for the most horrific crimes imaginable. This is where Donald Trump plans to send the worst gangsters in some of America's prisons to spend the rest of their days.
There's no mattresses inside the cells.
In the past, the gang members would be kept separate, and they would be able to plan crimes in their cells. But in this prison, the new system's in operation where gangs such as MS-13 and Barrett-18 have been all put together in the same cell, so they can no longer plan crimes. They have to mix in and live together. This is the only exercise that the prisoners get. For half an hour, they're allowed out of their cells to do this regimented calisthenics with an instructor. It must be probably the most miserable aerobics class I've ever seen in my life.
What did they do to get 800, 900 years?
Hundreds of eyes boring into the back of me, just dead black eyes. Lord knows what they're thinking, and what they think all day. Yes, humanity has to decide what the price is, whether it's worth paying to put hundreds of people into a cage forever, so that millions of people can live peacefully. It's quite a dilemma.
You see how they were like packed together like animals, bro? Hey man, like they say, you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime.
TikToker was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. The same man that she made this video about on her TikTok. In August of 2024, 25-year-old Caitlyn Lee was recording a TikTok video with one of her best friends. Caitlyn, who was a mother of 3, was celebrating, having a good night with her friend, dancing in the kitchen and making a TikTok. However, at one point, Caitlyn and her friend heard knocking on a window. According to the friend, Caitlyn then walked over to the window, looked outside, and claimed, "What are you doing here?" And shortly after that, 2 to 3 gunshots rang out, with the bullets piercing Caitlyn, killing her. The man who murdered Caitlyn was her 25-year-old ex-boyfriend, a man named Joshua Thompson. The two had dated in the past, but friends and family members said that their relationship was incredibly toxic. In fact, in April of 2024, the police were called after Joshua beat Caitlyn so badly that she was covered with bruises all over her body. Immediately after killing Caitlyn, Joshua ran from the scene and called his brother, crying. And he immediately confessed to shooting his ex-girlfriend in the head and killing her. Sadly, in the past, a no-contact order had been filed against Joshua, basically a restraining order to keep him away from his ex-girlfriend. But that did no good, and sadly, Caitlyn ended up dead. This is so scary and a story that we hear time and time again. A woman who moves on with her life and a man who just can't let that woman go. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast that I co-host with my wife Courtney, Murder in America. It's available on all streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 10.
Sad.
During takeoff and landing in an airplane, they turn off the lights. They do this just in case there's a crash. Your eyes take time to adjust to the dark. If it did crash, your eyes would be pre-adjusted, increasing your chance of survival. They also ask for the window blinds to be left open. This is so if it crashes, people on the outside can see if there are survivors.
The sleep
I
paralysis
don't trust planes now.
of Arabian folklore. Across Arabia and surrounding regions, there are tales of Al-Jafun, a female jinn that would sit on the chest of those sleeping and cause them to be paralyzed. In Islam and Arabian folklore, there are creatures called jinn. They are not spirits, but understood as another creation of God, just like humans. Creations that possess free will and are quite powerful.
Jinn are not inherently good or bad, just like humans, they come in variety. But Al-Jathum is a jinn that seeks suffering. The stories of Al-Jathum were likely early attempts at explaining sleep paralysis. And though her stories are quite widespread, she's not mentioned in any Islamic texts. Tell me, my friend, will you be seeing Al-Jathum tonight? I hope not.
Scary fact you wish you never
I
knew.
hope not. Me either.
If the ice isn't floating, don't drink it. There is something in the drink. Never sleep with your windows open. Typing 444 will turn on TikTok's dark mode. Leave a note on a table before you leave the house. If you come back and it's gone, leave the house immediately and call the police. There is no name that starts with an S and ends with S. If you're ever in a falling elevator, lay flat on your back. Don't walk down the stairs with your hands in your pockets. CNN has had a pre-recorded broadcast from the 90s, which they will premiere during the end of the world. A mysterious unknown Russian radio station has been broadcasting a strange buzzing, punctuated by intermittent code words, since 1973.
Why?
23% of children under the age of 13 have experienced auditory illusions, meaning they've heard voices.
Dark web videos you were never supposed to see, part 1. The first video we're watching is going to be the Glesgore video. The full video was actually only 2 minutes long, but YouTube removed it after only 153 people watched it. The 153 people who viewed this video apparently gouged their eyes out and sent it to the YouTube headquarters. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who apparently passed out during the first 45 seconds of the video. The person who uploaded the video was never found, and there was never an IP address to find him. The crazy part about this video is that 50% of people see that he smiles and the other 50% say he keeps a straight face. So you guys are going to decide.
She's keeping a straight face. It seemed to me like he was keeping a straight face. That's what I saw. It differs for everybody else, but I saw a straight face. That full vid had to be taken down. I guess it was that extreme.
So there is a wax museum out in Brazil that is giving the most intense uncanny valley I've ever seen. Princess Diana. Princess Diana. I almost thought I was like, maybe if it's in Brazil, I was like, is it possible some of this melted? Or like something morphed this? There's no way this was the final result. Couldn't even tell you who half these people. Like, is that Paula Abdul with a mustache? You tell me. Why are the teeth so alarmingly realistic? Like, those look like human teeth, and this is just a horrible wax figure over a skeleton. You know what I mean?
This woman scammed people out of millions of euros by posing as a spiritual healer who could break curses. Police in Austria are searching for 44-year-old Mariana M. after they found cash, jewellery and gold worth over 10 million euros at her house in Modling, near Vienna. Mariana, who actually went by the name Amila, pretended to be a shaman to defraud her victims. For example, she told one person that a close relative had been cursed and she foresaw her death. And to break this alleged curse, she said she needed to pay 730,000 euros for cleansing rituals. But once the money was paid, Mariana ghosted them. And another woman told the victim that she had fallen into a severe coma as a result of the ritual. The scammer's 29-year-old son has been arrested and is in custody. And police, who believe that she may have scammed people in Austria, Germany and Switzerland, are appealing to any other victims.
Vomit blood
all over
into its mouth to save it.
Do you ever see a picture that just makes your stomach
Okay.
drop? This is a still from an alert that a woman named Alexis Randall got on her phone. It's from a security camera that was set up in her living room, but she's looking at this and she's thinking the same thing you are. She's like, what's wrong with the picture here? Why did the motion detector go off? But then look a bit closer, specifically at the bathroom door. This man was staring at the camera from the doorway. She spots this picture and she immediately panics and calls the police, but by the time they get there, this guy is gone. What really freaked her out even more is that when police got there, they found evidence that the bathroom window had been tampered with. Further security footage would show that the man had crawled through the bathroom window the night before and was hiding in the hallway bathroom all through the night, even while she was in the house. And if you guys are loving Creep Time, make sure to go follow on Insta.
So he was just standing there all night?
This is Carla now. She literally had her face ripped off by Travis the chimp. People noticed that Travis the chimp became way more irritable after they took him off his medication for his Lyme disease. But nobody expected when Carla picked up his Tickle Me Elmo toy for him to rip her face off and dismember her body. There is a 911 audio call between Sandra Harold and a dispatcher and her begging them to come out and kill the monkey because he's dismembering her friend. Carla had to undergo 72 hours of surgery and an experimental face transplant surgery. This left her completely blind for life. When police arrived on the scene, one of them shot Travis the chimp and then he died later right next to his cage. But the damage was already done. Carla was already disfigured and nearly dead. In my next video, I'm going to be playing audio clips from the 911 call between Sandra and the dispatcher. Stay tuned for that.
Beware of chimps, man. They're wild animals for a
The woman
reason.
who chopped off her husband's you-know-what and then flushed it down the toilet because she found out that he was sleeping with her 15-year-old niece has officially been sentenced. On the night of the incident, she lured him into bed with text messages making him think that they were gonna have some fun. She then tied his arms and legs with her underwear, turned off the lights, whipped out a razor, and took his manhood. She then took a picture of the organ and flushed it down the toilet because she heard somewhere that it was possible to reattach it. And her husband, who is now being fitted with a prosthetic sausage, forgives her, blames himself, and even wants her back. He said it was all my fault. I could have not cheated on my wife with my niece. She didn't deserve it. Diane is a wonderful, loving woman who loves me, and he even paid for her legal team during the trial. And for those of you wondering, he didn't get in much trouble because the age of consent in Brazil is 14. Diane still stands by what she did, but pled guilty to the crime itself and was sentenced to 4 years and 5 months in prison. Let me know what you guys think about this, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Well, it's
World's insane,
2025 now, and here's some proof that we're getting old. Happy New Year's, everyone, and I hate to break it to you, but we are now closer to the year 2050 than we are to the year 2000, which doesn't even feel right at all. Saying that, let's talk about some things that are turning 25 in 2025, like the PlayStation 2, which is crazy because I feel like it just came out the other day, and we also have the video game The Sims and the iconic movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But that's not it. Because what else came out 25 years ago were Razor scooters, even Hillies, and the iconic Segway. Time really does fly. Finally, it might be hard to imagine a world where you can't instantly whip out your phone and start taking a picture, but before 2000, you couldn't. And also before 2000, there were no USB flash drives because those came out 25 years ago.
Hey man, here at least you brought back so many childhood memories. I remember being a kid, walking in the store, one of those Haley's so bad. It was like the coolest thing.
Let's talk about the Burari deaths.
What?
On July 1st, 2018, the bodies of 11 family members spanning 3 generations were found by the police. They were found hanging and gagged with limbs bound. What was first suspected to be a mass murder was later discovered to be an occult ritual gone wrong. The Chundawat family, also known as the Patia family by neighbors, lived in a 2-story house in the Burari Santanagar neighborhood for around 20 years after leaving their hometown in Rajasthan. On the same morning that the bodies were discovered at 7:15 a.m., one of the neighbors, Guru Charan Singh, noticed that Lalit Chundawat hadn't joined him for their daily morning walk. He also noticed that the family's shop hadn't opened at the usual time. Guru Charan decided to visit the house, and the scene that met his eyes caused him to call the police. The bodies of all 11 family members were found hanging from the ceiling as if they were hanging from a banyan tree. As to be expected, this became a very high-profile case, and the police officials found themselves under quite a bit of stress. Many theories began to make their way around. The family was extremely well loved by the neighbors, so what could have possibly gone wrong? The crime branch was involved, but people began to question the authority of the police when it came to maintaining law and order. Political parties took advantage of the situation to incite people to further their agenda. While all this was going on, the investigating officers made a key find. They discovered 11 diaries in the house that contained some cryptic messages. These messages were written angrily, as if by someone else. This was no longer considered to be a case of murder or suicide. Instead, they were looking at a case of accidental death. As it turned out, this case revolved around black magic, mental health, and toxic and regressive culture. Lalit Chandawat was the youngest of the siblings, but was considered the head of the house and controlled many things. He sustained a head injury and endured a traumatic experience in the past. After his father, Bhopal Singh, passed away, Lalit was diagnosed with PTSD. He didn't speak for a year after this, and people thought he lost his voice. He told family members that he saw his father in his dreams. He claimed that his father told him that if he did a specific prayer at a particular time, that his voice would return. Lalit's voice returned, and his family members put blind faith in his claims. They believed he was able to see his father. This marked the beginning of the psychotic disorder that would be shared by the family. Around 2007, Lalit began to show signs of schizophrenia. He told his family that he was possessed and his father was trying to talk to them. The family's finances grew after listening to Lalit's advice. This not only influenced Lalit's siblings, but the younger generation too. This continued for 11 years unnoticed by anyone in the neighborhood. This intrigued psychiatrists as well, who were curious as to the fact that even a 15-year-old child in the family believed everything Lalit said to be true without question.
Man, it just kept going down to generation to generation.
So you know that joke where everything in Australia with a pulse is specially designed to make sure you don't have one? It's not a joke. Oh, there's a plant that can make you suicidal. Dendronide moroids, aka the gimpy plant, is covered in stinging hairs that, when touched, penetrate the skin and release a powerful neurotoxin. And that toxin is a ticket to all 9 circles of hell because the pain is described as being burned by scalding hot acid while being electrocuted. One poor bastard used his plant as toilet paper, and the anal assault that followed was so unbearable he shot himself. Bernie Ryder got slapped in the face with this plant in 1963, and until 1965 all he knew was pain. A World War II soldier fell face first into the suicide pack of a plant and had to be strapped to a hospital bed to keep him from canceling his own subscription to life. Once those hairs get on you, you would develop painful welts that would be highly sensitive to touch, changes in temperature, and water. Which means if you tried to take a shower afterwards, you would be in unbelievable agony. And you want to know why I respect and fear Australians? The same plant that can hand you 13 reasons at once is the same plant they eat, just as long as the stinging hairs are removed. And it's not just humans that are victims. A horse allegedly ate this plant and then proceeded to hand it bake herself, proving that Australia is Lucifer's sandbox.
There's a killer on the loose in Montana who viciously murdered this man while he slept in his tent at a remote campsite. His injuries were so gruesome that at first police thought it was a bear attack, but now it's turned into a murder investigation with no clue who the killer is. So on October 10th, 35-year-old Dustin Gruesome left his home in Belgrade, Montana for a weekend camping trip with a friend. He drove off in his black 2013 Ford F-150, and this would be the last time that his family would ever hear from him again. He made plans to meet up with a friend the next day, but he never showed, and whatever happened after this has yet to be explained. When he failed to show up, his friend started looking for him where he might have been camping. This was near Big Sky in the Moose Creek area. At around 10 a.m. the next day, his friend stumbled across his campsite, which was about 2.5 miles up Moose Creek Road, and when he opened the tent, he found Dustin's bloodied body. His injuries were so gruesome and intense that he thought Dustin was attacked by a bear, so when he called 911, that's what he said, that he thought his friend was attacked by a bear. Police, as well as the Montana Department of Fish and Wildlife, brought in experts in bear attacks to investigate the scene, but they all found no signs of bear activity in the area, and after examining Dustin's body, they found that he was actually brutally murdered. An autopsy concluded that he died as a result of multiple chop wounds, and it was described as especially vicious. At this point, police don't know what the murder weapon was, but they say that whatever it was hard enough to cause significant damage to a skull. So far, there are 0 suspects in this case, and it almost appears to be completely random. And what's scary is police have said that they don't know whether or not there is a threat to the community. So if you're out there in the Montana woods, you need to stay vigilant and pay attention to your surroundings. The campsite where Dustin was murdered is pretty remote, but it is said to be somewhat popular amongst other campers and especially hunters. That area is said to have little to no cell phone service, which makes this all that much scarier. Police are asking anyone who's in the area who might have seen Dustin or his truck or any suspicious activity to come forward. They're also asking anyone who might have footage from game or trail cameras or any dash cam footage to send it in, even if it might seem insignificant to you. And to anyone in the Big Sky area or anyone camping or planning to camp, please be careful, because there's someone on the loose who is capable of committing such a heinous crime, seemingly without leaving any evidence behind.
And their best inventions, part 2. Canada, peanut butter. Italy, thermometers. France, parachutes. Denmark, Lego. Ukraine, postal codes. China, paper money.
Did you guys know that these Disney stars were arrested and some even spent time in prison? Starting with the one that shocked me the most, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. He went to prison for manslaughter. So in 1991, way before The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody aired, Fail killed a 21-year-old girl while drinking and driving. But he was released early and only served 1 year because of the work he did in prison. Next, we got Debbie Ryan, who played Bailey Pickett on The Sweet Life on Deck. When Debbie was 22 years old, she was arrested and charged with a DUI after she crashed her car with another person and severely injured them. Okay, this one's crazy. Back in 2018, Adam Hicks, who starred in Zeke and Luther, was arrested after going around pointing guns at people and robbing them with the help of his girlfriend, Danny. He ended up getting only 5 years in prison, and now he's pursuing his music career and he's on TikTok. Now, this one definitely caught me off guard because Mitchell Musso played such an innocent kid on Hannah Montana, but he was arrested for public intoxication on August 26th of this year when he apparently stole a bag of chips from a store, but he denies this ever happened. Mitchell was also arrested back in 2011 when he was 20 years old for a DUI. Let me know which one surprised you the most because mine was Mr. Mosby.
The worst. She hit the nail on the head, bro. It was Mr. Mosby. I would have never guessed in a million years, man, something like that had happened. It's like when these Disney stars, after their shows is over, after they runners up, they just can't cope with it and they go down the wrong path. But that Mr. Mosby one, man, that got to me, bro.
Ways people have died, part 2. First off, this one's so awful, but you'd think it was a hoax. A mom would repeatedly push her kid on a swing for 2 days straight until he eventually passed away. It was later revealed that she was extremely mentally ill and was sent to a mental institution. Next, a man in his late 30s from the Philippines decided to tackle his fear by finally going on a roller coaster with his family. But once the ride started moving, he began freaking out and began squirming and kicking in his seat. And when the ride flipped, he slipped right out and met his end. Finally, what started as an amazing day eventually took a turn for the worse. While still celebrating from her recent engagement, this woman stumbled and fell off a cliff that was as tall as a 6-story building, falling to her death.
Be careful when looking at old pictures. You might see the man with the upside down face in one. Click the plus, drop a like, tag a friend, save yourself. The upside down man is one of the meanest and the scariest monsters alive. He personally feeds off of death and fear, so be careful. Behind me, as you see him in this tragic car accident. Supposedly this picture is from the 1960s, and this is when he started to appear. He himself cannot make the events tragic, but he can make them 10 times worse. By making simple arguments turn violent. My question to you guys is, have you looked at old pictures?
I haven't. But I don't think I wouldn't see the upside down man. He was going that far back in history?
Creepy last words
check it
people
out.
said right before dying. Registered nurse Emily Thompson said that she had a female patient who was dying of cancer. The patient had grown increasingly anxious in her last days. She often complained of a strange sulfuric smell in her room. "It's getting stronger," she said one evening. Emily, who was accustomed to the odd perceptions of the dying, tried to reassure her, but the patient's haunted eyes told another story. That night, she gripped Emily's hand with surprising strength, her breath coming in shallow gasps. "He's here," she whispered. "Who's here?" Emily asked. "The devil's here. He's waiting for me." Her voice cracked. Her face twisted in terror as she turned her gaze to the dark corner of the room. "I did terrible things," she said. "Things no one knows." The nurse followed her stare, but there was nothing there. The patient's lips parted as if to scream, but only silence came. Her body convulsed, then fell still. Emily said that the smell of sulfur lingered in that room long after the patient died.
Here Amazon recharging its minerals. The desert literally fertilizes the rainforest.
This is one of the craziest urban legends I've ever heard. And it ended up being true. So almost 100 years ago, there was an aquarium in Australia that had a giant tiger shark on display. And the legend goes that one day, in front of groups of families, the shark threw up a human arm. And not only is that true, but it opened a murder investigation. Also, this week's episode is all about Australian true urban legends, so make sure you listen. So after the shark threw up the human arm, the police had to figure out whose it was and why it was in the shark's belly. Well, the first thing the police noticed was the arm was cut cleanly, not jagged like it was from a shark bite, meaning that the arm was intentionally cut. So now it's clear that this was a murder, but whose arm is it? Well, one thing they noticed is that the arm has 2 boxers in a fighting stance tattooed on it. So they end up writing about that in the paper, and one guy who was reading it goes, "Hey, that sounds like my brother's tattoo." His brother was a man named Jim Smith, and he was involved in the seedy underbelly of Sydney society. Jimmy ran insurance fraud scams in Sydney, and he was just involved with a lot of bad people. And the last person he was seen with was one of Sydney's most notorious criminals. The story has a lot of twists, including how was he involved with the last guy he was seen with. And there's a lot of fun Australian urban legends like the story of the Button Man, so make sure you check out this week's episode.
Criminals who got caught for the dumbest things. In 2011, a man from Florida attempted to rob a convenience store with a squirt gun filled with juice. Luckily, the worker recognized the juice as juice that they sell, and he called the police. They then tracked him down and arrested him. In 2014, a man from Australia attempted to rob a gas station with a banana. He had peeled the banana and used it to simulate the shape of a gun. The man was also arrested and charged with armed robbery. In 2018, a man in California was breaking into a house, but he didn't realize that he had accidentally dialed 911 while he was still in the house. The operator heard noises in the background, so he sent police to the phone's location, where the man was then arrested.
They were not using their critical thinking skills. They really weren't.
3 facts that could save your life, part 5. If you ever find yourself trapped on a thin piece of ice and have no way of getting back to safe land before it breaks, slide down on your stomach and start slowly crawling back to exactly the way you came in on. That'll put less stress on the ice, making it almost impossible for it to break. Most people understand flags on shorelines, but the purple flag confuses most people. The purple flag being the warning that the most dangerous sea creatures are in that exact area, such as jellyfish, stingrays, and of course, sharks. If you ever feel like puking while you're scuba diving, vomit into the regulator. Do not remove it from your mouth. Removing it from your mouth will make it impossible to reapply it on your face, meaning that you're probably pretty far underwater. And once you remove that from your face, you probably will most likely drown. Like and follow for more videos.
Man. I know, so just puke into your regulator with whatnot? I'm guessing it's better, like you said, than taking it off your face. Because you're too far under. Just gonna have to roll with it.
Remind me never to go to Spain, because what the hell is this? This is a water slide, as you can see, one of those tornado water slides. These are human beings in comparison to that, just if you want to see how big it is. And it is in Siam Park, Spain. And, no. I've never been on a tornado water slide. I hate water slides in general, but this, you could never catch me on, especially with this thing chilling there. It gets, like, super close to you, too. Like, I watched a video, and this is how close you get to it. Like, pretty damn close. Probably like 10 to 20 feet away from it. No. I'd be so scared that I'd fly out of there and into its mouth. And then, when you come out, its whole dragonussy is facing you. You know what? I might have been too harsh on this guy. He has nice biceps. Hear me out. Hear me out. He has a killer set of nails, though. I will tell you that much. He's styling. Also, I just noticed his neck. I'm not gonna say anything. So yeah, how do you feel about this one? Would you go on this ride? It kind of looks like a rat. He has like a rat face, but like a dragon body. Hear me out. I could take him in a fight.
No, you can't. That's a no for me.
I'm partnering with Netflix to talk about what happened with OJ Simpson and how there are some details you might have missed in this insane true crime case. For example, how there was a witness who saw him get rid of evidence, how someone recognized his voice, and what the last person who was with OJ before the murders remembers. On the night of June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were found dead outside of Nicole's home in Los Angeles. Their cause of death? Stabbing. Right away, Nicole's ex-husband, OJ Simpson, became the police's #1 suspect. Now, who was OJ? Well, he was a former, well-known NFL player who married Nicole in 1985. Now their marriage was not good, and in 1992, they finalized their divorce. When Nicole and Ronald's bodies were found, police honed in on OJ, suspecting that he might have a motive for killing his ex-wife. This investigation led to an insane manhunt entailing a huge car chase, frightening witness statements, and worldwide coverage. This was the most famous celebrity ever charged with murder, and it was a disaster. You may think you know everything about the case, but there might be some details that you missed. Netflix's new series, American Manhunt, OJ Simpson, is coming on January 29th to highlight the lesser-known details of one of the most widely known criminal cases in history. There are a lot of surprising details that I didn't know about, so make sure to watch Netflix's new series, and let me know what you think about the case down below.
The oldest president to be elected, Joe Biden, 78 years old. Oldest person to ever live, Janine Calman, 116 years old. Oldest tree, Great Basin, Bristol Cone Pine, 5,000 years old. Oldest pub in England, Old Ferry Boat Inn, 793 AD. Oldest country, San Marino, 301 BCE.
That pub's still open? What the... Generations after generations, man. What the hell? It endured, bro. That's crazy to think about.
This boy was shot by an officer while he ate McDonald's in his car. On October 2nd at 10:45 p.m., a police officer named James Brennan approached a vehicle that was parked at a McDonald's in San Antonio. The officer believed that the car belonged to the person who fled from him the night before during a traffic stop.
I had a vehicle over here that fled from me the other day. It's in the parking lot.
What led to the shooting?
Get out of the car.
So, did you see how the officer opened Eric's car door without any heads up at all? I think anyone would panic in that moment. So when he opened the door, Eric reversed his car, hitting the officer with his car door. So then the officer proceeds to open fire on Eric as he drives away. By the way, you can find this video on YouTube. Eric was unarmed but was shot multiple times and was on life support. The police chief did say that James' actions were unjustified and that there is a policy that prohibits officers from shooting at parked or moving vehicles except if their life or someone else's life is in immediate danger. I just don't think it was necessary to do all that, but James was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault.
He didn't even knock on it. He just opened it. And look what that led to, man. He just couldn't follow simple directions, bro. If his life or somebody else's life was in danger, I don't think nobody's life was in danger right there. Don't make sense.
3 ways to survive a skinwalker. Number 1, don't ever whistle in the woods. No matter if it's daytime or nighttime, that's a calling signal, meaning that you're letting the skinwalker know exactly where you are. Number 2, pray as hard to whatever you believe in as possible. Skinwalkers are demonic creatures, being so that they were transformed this way because they are cannibals and have killed before. Number 3, white ash tree rubbed bullets may be one of the only other ways to stop a skinwalker in its tracks. Of course, most people don't have those laying around, so if you're in an area where you think you may or may not be able to run into one, you may want to pack those just in case. Don't forget to like and follow for another episode.
White tree bullets, okay. More about the skinwalker lore.
Unalived his parents and was found not guilty. On September 8th of 2024, 17-year-old Colin Griffin called 911 to tell them that he had gotten into an argument with his mother Catherine at his grandmother's house. He claimed that after the argument, his mother fell onto a knife. According to him, his mother was still alive and bleeding from the neck. As Colin was waiting outside for the officers, he was covered in blood. Officers described his demeanor as cool, calm, and collected, which was odd for someone who had just saw their mom fall onto a knife. Once officers went into the home, they found a 12-inch knife with a bloodied 8-inch blade. Witnesses told police that they saw Colin dragging his mom by her hair into the mobile home where she died. Catherine had an autopsy done and revealed that her injuries were non-accidental. Police arrested Colin and he had actually violated a no-contact order in place against his mother. This was put into place because in November of 2023, Colin and his mother got into an argument which led her to take away his gaming privileges, and he got so angry that he threw her to the floor and stomped on her. Colin had claimed he struck his mother in self-defense, but his grandmother was witnessing the whole thing and she stated that the attack was unprovoked. In March of 2024, there was another incident between Colin and his mother which resulted in him going to a mental health facility. On February 5th of this year, the court found Colin not guilty, and his public defender argued that his mother, Catherine, was probably suicidal and she was the one who forced Colin to stab her. Colin not only did this to his mother, but he also did it to his father as well. Colin had lived with his father, Charles, in Lincoln County, Oklahoma until 2023. On February 14th of 2023, Colin had called 911 and told the dispatcher that he had fatally shot his father after his father had pulled out a knife on him and threatened him with it. Police had arrested Colin, but later dismissed the case, stating that it was due to self-defense. So Colin has unalived both of his parents and has been found not guilty, so what do you think about the case?
One of the most
How did he beat the case
mysterious and cursed
twice?
places in Arizona Arizona is the Superstition Mountains. The Superstition Mountains, located east of Phoenix, are steeped in legend, particularly surrounding a hidden gold mine that has supposedly cursed those who look for it. The story goes that a German prospector, James Waltz, discovered an incredibly rich gold vein in the 1800s. However, he died without revealing its location, and since then, many treasure hunters have vanished or met mysterious deaths while searching for it. Numerous treasure hunters and hikers have gone missing in the mountains, and some have even been found dead under mysterious circumstances. Many bodies are discovered with no signs of struggle, leading to theories about supernatural forces or hidden dangers in the area. Many visitors report glowing orbs, shadow figures, and eerie whispers echoing through the canyons at night. Some claim to have seen ghostly Spanish soldiers or Native American spirits guarding the area at night. The Apache Indians believed that the mountains are home to the thunder god, and some say there's a hidden entrance to the underworld deep within the caves. Even modern treasure hunters have reported freak accidents, strange disappearances, and a feeling of being watched while searching for the lost Dutchman's gold. Whether it's a real curse, dangerous terrain, or something supernatural, the Superstition Mountains remain one of Arizona's most mysterious and feared locations.
People who
Treasure out there?
regret. When this guy went to release the fish that he had just caught back into the water, he forgot which hand was which. The Wisconsin Lottery Organization did an undercover investigation. They brought a winning lottery ticket that won $1 million into the store to see if the worker would be honest, and here's what she said. After she tried to claim the money for herself, but she got caught. This TV channel called QVC showcases a bunch of different products, and they try to be entertaining while they're doing it. But if you want them to try your product on the show, it costs $6,000 per minute. This company wanted their vacuum to be showcased, and let's just say they regretted spending the money because it didn't really work.
Imagine spending all that money and your product don't work. Money down the drain, bro. You need to be budget their money way better. 6 bands, you know what I can do with that? We penny pinching over here.
Life or a disaster movie, this would be the opening scene. This is not supposed to happen. This is a black devil. Well, not really. That's the family name. Specifically, it's the humpback anglerfish, or as most people know, Nemo's paralysis demon. You already know the deal with them. Bioluminescent bacteria means Satan's abandoned goldfish has a built-in fishing lure, and any fish that wants to see the light gets sent to it permanently. Also, if you're curious about the dental work, basically where they live is a forever bird box challenge, so when they do catch a body, having teeth like hypodermic needles means it takes one mistake for them to stamp your fate. Plot armor's the only reason Marlon's son ain't in the system, and living in the world of Ray Charles means they're the opposite of picky. They'll swallow things physically bigger than they are. One devil weighing 8 grams was caught with a stomach holding about 12 grams worth of past tense eel. Also, every anglerfish like this is a female. You know where this is going, because the males are 40 times smaller, and the parasite's only purpose is to find a female, bite her, and then literally fuse into her skin. I'm talking about even his blood vessels eventually intersect with hers. And that's just the rest of his life. Bro really becomes a full-time herpy. Or I guess a hempy. It's so twisted. Science really thought this living testicle was an entirely different species. Whole time it was Steven Universe on steroids. Now the real question is, why did Hell release one of his drafts unprompted? Remember, their entire game plan revolves around them living in pitch darkness. We've never recorded one in broad daylight like this. Something wrong with Buddy. They have no business perceiving any light that isn't theirs. That is a devil about to die. And if you believe in science, then oh my, the script writers are going wild in 2025.
Back in the saddle of talking about terrifying stuff, mechanophobia things. Just wait, stay with me this entire video because it gets crazier as it goes. This is the Aquadom that's in Berlin, and it was in the Radisson Hotel. And yes, that inside of there, that huge column inside of there, that's an elevator. Could you imagine getting in that elevator and getting stuck? This gigantic tank holds over 1 million liters of water and also 1,500 different tropical fish and some dudes scuba diving in around you when you're in the elevator. This sounds like a nightmare, getting stuck in that elevator. I already don't like elevators, but could you imagine being inside this gigantic tank? But also, wait for it, it shattered randomly. Just randomly one day it decided to just completely break and shatter all of the 1,500 fish were just scattered everywhere. People were like injured with some glass flying. Luckily, no one lost their lives, but like this, oh my God, could you imagine being in that elevator when it exploded? That sounds like a nightmare. And like here you can kind of see more structurally what exactly was inside of it. You can better see the elevator, and this was left abandoned for a little bit. It's cleared up now. Apparently the Radisson made it into like a garden, but this was just chilling in there, just completely the hotel abandoned for months. Like look at this. This is like right after it happened. This is, God. So we have abandoned places, we have some mechanophobia, and we have claustrophobia if you want to include the elevator. So, yeah, no. Did you get to see this when it was up and running? How was it? If not, would you have ever gone on this? Because you could not pay me. You could not. I would be going up the stairs. I don't care if I was on the 50th floor.
Why is this country called Iraq? The region of Mesopotamia has been referred to as Iraq since at least the 7th century AD, during the early Islamic period. The etymology of the name is debated amongst historians, with multiple theories explaining its meaning and roots. Now, one theory suggests that Iraq comes from the Sumerian city of Uruk. Now, Uruk was one of the first great cities of Mesopotamia, and its name may have influenced later Arabic and Persian terms for the region. Now, if you're familiar with the story of Gilgamesh, then you would know that this was the city that Gilgamesh had apparently ruled over. Another theory connects the name to the Middle Persian word Iraq, I hope I said that right, meaning lowlands, which describes Mesopotamia's geography in contrast to the Iranian plateau. Now the third theory, which if I recall correctly is actually a folk etymology, suggests that Iraq originates from an Arabic root meaning well-watered, referring to the fertile land between the Tigris River and the Euphrates River. During the early Islamic period, Iraq was commonly used to describe the southern and central regions of Mesopotamia. Now, the term distinguished this area from Al-Jazira, the northern region between the two rivers. Now, in modern history, Iraq became an official state in 1921 under British rule, and the name was retained when the country gained full independence in 1932. Isn't that interesting?
Terrifying last words people said right before passing away. An ER physician says he's heard many last words before, but this one was the most terrifying. There was a man who was taking his last breaths as he succumbed to renal failure. And right before he passed away, he said, "I see a bright light, horses, no eyes." Then he started screaming, "No, no, no." And as he yelled, he suddenly woke up, looked up towards the ceiling, and with his last breath said, "I understand." Then right after, he passed away. According to this ER physician, this could be provoked by certain neurotransmitters during organ failure, but sometimes he still thinks that maybe that patient saw more than we're led to believe. Let me know if I should make a part 2 and follow for more.
This is why I would never hire a stranger for a kid's birthday party. And if the photo's not bad enough, the mystery behind it is so much worse. And a reminder before I dive in that if you like all things spooky and true crime, check out my podcast. There's a link to it in my profile. So in the 1940s, the McLaren family in Houston, Texas was having a birthday party for their daughter, Rose. They hired a clown for the party, but an hour before the party started, they get a call from the company saying that the clown they hired was no longer available. They were going to send someone else in his place. And the parents are like, okay, fine, whatever. But then this man shows up to the party. And the kids are all terrified of him. No one really wants to take photos. The man stayed at the party for about 20 minutes and then just disappeared. But get this. After he left, the clown that they hired showed up to the party. And he apologized for being late. And the mother is like, "What are you doing here? You canceled on us." And the clown's like, "No, I didn't." And it was at that moment that one of the parents noticed that this little boy pictured here was missing. The little boy was never found, and the identity of this man remains a mystery even today.
Be careful who you invite to your freaking kid's party. He's a
Creepy
poser.
Unsolved mysteries that might creep you out. Number 10, the net Cayadito. In the early hours of April 6, 1986, 9-year-old Antoinette was abducted by two men in a brown van from her home. The following year after the disappearance, Alec, New Mexico police received the following eerie, frantic phone call.
I'm Antoinette Cayadito. Okay, whereabouts in Albuquerque? Hello? Antoinette, where are you?
4 years later, in Carson, New Mexico, A waitress at a restaurant noticed a couple and a teenage girl who matched the description of Antoinette. After the girl and the couple left, the waitress found the following note under the teenage girl's plate. Antoinette has been missing for 35 years.
What? She had called the police and left that note and nobody still found her?
This Polish woman is claiming to be the missing Madeleine McCann. But did you know there's age progression photos done of Madeleine that could help us know what she would look like today? In 2007, Madeleine was taken from her family's bedroom while they were on vacation in Portugal. And immediately the parents came under fire because they did leave the kids asleep in the apartment by themselves while they went to dinner with friends. This is the official age progressed photo of Madeleine to age 9, and this is the woman who's now claiming that she is Madeleine. And this woman does have some of Madeleine's signature features. Here you can see a black speck that looks like a pupil in Madeleine's eye, which is something they both share. She's also claiming that she has a lot of missing memories from childhood, but the eye speck does seem to be her most convincing argument. But German prosecutors actually believe that Madeleine is no longer alive, and 2 people believe they saw this man carrying a small girl towards the beach around the time that Madeleine's parents first noticed that she was missing. But that being said, it's not completely impossible that she would be alive today.
Hey man, do the DNA testing, bro. That's one of, I guess, the benefits of being, you know, that 21st century, man. You can just test the DNA against one of her relatives and see if they match up. You can put that mystery to rest. One of the benefits of technology. There's drawbacks.
Let's talk about this picture. It centers around Mr. and Mrs. Dubois. They were some of the town of Hackenshaw's favorite neighbors, but they had a dark side to them. But first, we're gonna enjoy some pizza. This is like my favorite pizza. It's from Marco's Pizza. Reminds me of Jersey because I'm from Jersey. You see, they were kind to everyone. Even invited people who just moved into town for dinners. They would also have the best decorations for holidays as well. Their house would always win the contest for best decorated in the town. People just loved their Christmas lights and their Halloween decorations. In the beginning of October 1876, they started throwing parties for the kids. All the kids from around the town would come, even from outside the town. It was fun. They played games, they ate candy, and everyone just had a good time. But out of the 20 kids that came over that night, about 4 went missing. And after about 3 weeks of searching, the case went slow and they gave up. Halloween finally came around, and the contest for the best decorations, of course, went to the Dubois. That night while trick-or-treating, one of the boys in town named Sam went up to one of the decorations. When he grabbed the mask off, he realized it was one of the children who went missing. The child was stuffed and put on display in front of the yard as a decoration. The Dubois, who saw this and not wanting to get caught, grabbed the little kid inside, adding him to their collection. No one suspected a thing because the Dubois was so kind and nice to everyone. It wasn't until years later on their deathbed that they admitted at throwing parties every year to steal a child or 3 and told police that they could find all the missing children in their basement. The reason they did it was because they needed decorations realistic enough so they could always win those contests.
Everybody has double eyes. Can't trust them.
It's this woman, 59-year-old Debbie Collier, who was a mother and office manager who was found charred alive in the northeastern Georgia. But while I'm sitting here and I'm, researching this case, it's even stranger than I thought it was. Something is deeply off with this story. Though here's what we know. September 10th, she is reported missing, and the following day, her van is found, but she's not inside. So the daughter comes forward. She says that, her mom doesn't have any history of mental illness. She wouldn't be trying to hurt herself. So what happened here? Well, later that day, after the van was found, they go deeper into the woods where Debbie is found on a tarp, described as burned alive. This was the tarp she bought herself at the Dollar Tree, shortly before she was found. Stranger than that, her daughter comes forward and says before she was found, her mom Venmo'd her $2,385, along with this cryptic message. Did that not seem like an oddly specific amount, though?
Most terrifying demonic activity ever caught on camera.
Bobby, is that you? Bobby. I get it. I get it, man. You're just gonna stare at each other for what? You got me. I know what the fucked up problem is. I keep doing this shit. I'm just gonna stare at him then. Okay, great. busy. You got me. Jim, you got me. You got me, man. You got me. Okay, it's good.
Could be an edit.
And just stay in your room.
The oldest traceable body on Mount Everest is considered to be that of George Mallory, an English mountaineer who was part of the first British expeditions up the mountain in the early 1920s. He and his hiking partner Andrew Irvine were last seen about 800 feet from the summit before disappearing. In 1999, an expedition up the mountain sought to find Mallory, and they did. Well preserved too. Injuries sustained on his body and circumstantial evidence give some idea as to what happened to him, namely that he slipped, fell, and conked himself in the forehead with his own ice axe. Ugh. We still don't know if Mallory and Irvine reached the summit before their fatal accident, but some in the field believe that Mallory did. They also think he left a photo of his wife at the summit because it wasn't on his body when it was found, and he always carried it. We don't know much about Irvine because his body is still unlocated. And on an eerie note, Mallory and Irvine had a camera with them to record the historic event, which, if ever found, would likely give us some fascinating insight into their journey.
Could you guys climb up Mount Everest? I don't know, man. I know that might be on some people's bucket list, but knowing that there's a lot of like freaking courses up there and they kind of use it as a like marker point, I don't know if I could take that trip. Could you guys? I want to see down below.
Let's talk about this picture. It centers around Mr. and Mrs. Dubois. They were some of the town of Hackenshaw's favorite neighbors, but they had a dark side to them. But first, we're gonna enjoy some pizza.
He always
eats.
This is
like my favorite pizza. It's from Marco's Pizza. Reminds me of Jersey because I'm from Jersey. You see, they were kind to everyone. Even invited people who just moved into town for dinners. They would also have the best decorations for holidays as well. Their house would always win the contest for best decorated in the town. People just loved their Christmas lights and their Halloween decorations. In the beginning of October 1876, they started throwing parties for the kids. All the kids from around the town would come, even from outside the town. It was fun. They played games, they ate candy, everyone just had a good time. But out of the 20 kids that came over that night, about 4 went missing. And after about 3 weeks of searching, the case went slow and they gave up. Halloween finally came around, and the contest for the best decorations, of course, went to the Dubois. That night while trick-or-treating, one of the boys in town named Sam went up to one of the decorations. When he grabbed the mask off, he realized it was one of the children who went missing. The child was stuffed and put on display in front of the yard as a decoration. The Dubois, who saw this and not wanting to get caught, grabbed the little kid inside, adding him to their collection. No one suspected a thing because the Dubois was so kind and nice to everyone. It wasn't until years later on their deathbed that they admitted at throwing parties every year to steal a child or 3 and told police that they could find all the missing children in their basement. The reason they did it was because they needed decorations realistic enough so they could always win those contests.
So they took kids, man, just because they wanted to win a stupid contest, bro. What going through people's minds, man, when they're doing these acts? To win a contest, it was worth it for that? Ruining people's lives for a dumb contest just to get validation, bro, from people you don't know. Man, bro, people will seek that anywhere and everywhere, bro, and they do things like this that I would never even imagine just to get some validation, bro.
These are serial killers that got caught for being idiots. And yes, this is a series, so make sure you follow along.
Okay.
This is David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam. He's best known for being the serial unaliver who believed that his neighbor's dog was telling him to commit the crimes. And he was really hard to catch. His attacks felt random and lacked pattern, other than the fact that a lot of his victims were women with long brown hair. But the thing that did this man in was that he parked illegally while committing one of the crimes. Celia Davis was out walking her dog one night when she saw a car being ticketed. And then out of nowhere, she sees this figure come towards her with what looks like a gun in his hand. She freaks out and runs away, but hears 2 gunshots get fired behind her. The next day, she learns that 2 people, Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante, had been shot in that area. So she calls the police and tells them everything she saw that night. The man with the gun, hearing the gunshots, and seeing the car with the ticket. And the cops did a real quick search through their database and found that the car had been registered to Berkowitz, who was already on their radar. And the second they went to question him about it, he confessed to everything.
Idiots, bro.
Erica's family told her they were going on vacation in Lake Tahoe, when in reality they were dropping her off at a troubled teen wilderness program that she would not survive. Erica Harvey was just 15 years old when she was dropped off at the Catherine Freer Wilderness Program. The program promised Erica's family that they could get her off drugs, but the staff were not trained very well. The first day that she was there, the kids all went on a really long hike, and Erica started showing symptoms of dehydration. Erica was also on antipsychotic medication, which was something the staff did not have any experience with. So when she started speaking gibberish and her eyes rolled into the back of her head, they thought she was being dramatic. And when she fell over backwards into a ravine, they completely ignored her. Finally, after an hour, they went to go check on her, but Erica didn't have a pulse. The staff called a medical helicopter, but they didn't know where they were, so they gave them the wrong coordinates. By the time Erica saw a doctor, it was 5 hours later, and she didn't have a chance. And programs like Erica's still exist today, trapping kids like prisoners because they're minors and can't sign themselves out. This week I interview a survivor who was gone for 3.5 years in the troubled teen industry because she was 14 years old when she was taken.
Nah, that's messed up. They can't even get this out because they're so young.
On the evening of September 10th, 2002, 31-year-old Miroslav Kuklish was entering an underwater cave off the coast of Croatia, trying to catch up with his 4 dive buddies. He had entered the water about 10 minutes after them because while they were on the surface, the 4 had explained to him that they were going to check out this underwater cave. But Miroslav had told them he wanted nothing to do with this cave, he was just going to go on an open water night dive. So they said okay, and they went without him. Unbeknownst to Miroslav, as soon as the 4 had entered this 2-meter wide hole in the bottom of the ocean, they had immediately recognized it was well beyond their skill level, and they had turned around and gotten right out of there. Unbeknownst to them, though, Miroslav had made the exact opposite decision, and as soon as he got in the water, he went right down to the cave entrance and barreled down after him, and I mean, he really went for it. Now, the way that this cave is set up is there's a 15-meter deep chute, which leads to 2 different passageways, which lead to 2 different underwater caverns, the shallower one, or the upper gallery, and the deeper one, the lower gallery. The bottom of the lower gallery is about 54 meters or 180 feet deep. Okay, so what Miroslav does is he dives down this 15-meter corridor. Now, bear in mind, the walls are super narrow in these corridors, and you're kicking up silt the whole time, so you can't see anything. And where the 3 meet, it's almost impossible to tell which is which, because again, you can't see, and unless you know this cave like the back of your hand, I mean, being underwater is really disorienting. You don't know if you're going to the deep one, the shallow one, or up to the exit. It's kind of just a guess if you don't really know the cave. So he goes immediately down, and he goes immediately into the deep gallery. He makes it all the way down to 165 feet before he realizes he needs to turn around and get out of there. So he makes his ascent back up, and he makes his way back up to where the 3 separate again. And he needs to find the exit. But instead of finding the exit, he goes into the shallow gallery. And now he is running out of air, and he really needs to find the exit. So he goes back up to where they all 3 separate, and he's doing this probably mostly by feel now, because again, with the silt, you can't see. So he has a 50-50 shot. But instead of picking the exit, he picks the way he just came from, and he goes back down into the deep gallery. And at this point, we know when he hits the deep gallery again, he runs out of air. And he finds that shallow air pocket at the top of the deep gallery, but he's only got a few minutes of air in that little pocket, and he knows that. We know he was there for 5 minutes from his dive computer before he ultimately decides that instead of drowning, he's going to take his dive knife and end things his way. So he takes out his dive knife, and he drives it 11 centimeters all the way to the hilt into the left side of his chest. Unfortunately, he would still drown a few minutes after this. We know this from the autopsy report. A police diver would also drown trying to recover.
This is not a fucking joke.
Now, a lot of people have been tagging me in this video, so I'm here to explain the backstory to this whole thing. Now, before I begin the video, I have an announcement to make. First things first, I just posted my first YouTube video on the Sylvia Likens case, so if you want to check that out, please do. Link is in the bio. You can also make fun of me for my old YouTube videos. I don't care. Also, in spirit of Scream 6 coming out tomorrow.
And has a creepy history. Visitors who have explored there say that once they enter, it's otherworldly in there. Creepy.
First of all, it's reportedly completely silent. You can't hear birds, animals, bugs, nothing. A researcher compared entering the heart of Dudley Town to standing inside a recording studio booth. Another common complaint from visitors is that a lot of the photos they take in Dudley Town won't develop, but as soon as they leave, their cameras will work just fine. Which makes sense, as I had a really hard time finding really any photos of Dudley Town when I was researching. The creepy legend of the town is years ago the Dudley family fled to the US after one of their family members was taken care of after plotting against King Henry VIII. They settled in Connecticut and the bad luck followed. Residents of Dudley Town began suffering a series of devastating crop failures and mental illness was rampant in the village. There were countless mysterious disappearances within the village and all-around chaos overwhelmed Dudley Town. By the early 1900s, it was completely abandoned. For fans of the Conjuring films based on paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, the two visited Dudley Town and outright declared that it was extremely haunted and controlled by something terrifying. Investigators agreed that Dudley Town is some kind of a portal. But here's where it goes from spooky to downright bizarre. The owners, the Dark Entry Forest Association, closed Dudley Town to the public and don't do anything to dispel the rumors. In fact, they refuse to be interviewed for the most part, and the owners go to great lengths to conceal their identities. On top of that, if you are caught trespassing in Dudley Town, you will be heavily prosecuted. This is so strange to me. We see so many other ghost towns around the world, and usually they keep these places open for tourism. You know, profit off the history and the spookiness. But for some reason, this association wants to keep people out of Dudley Town altogether. A paranormal researcher said there's some kind of secret that they are keeping there, and they want people to stay out. What are your thoughts? This has been requested a couple times. Has anyone ever been? Or are there any towns by you that you find to be really creepy?
It's a portal, bro. That's what they said. Is maybe some bad energy coming out of there.
On May 1st, 2020, in Charleston County, South Carolina, 58-year-old Cynthia Covert was over at her friend and client Barbara's house doing Barbara's nails. And they were doing this appointment on Barbara's enclosed back porch, which overlooked her yard and then a large freshwater pond. Now, Barbara would later state that Cynthia was acting very strangely. Normally, she would be very, very professional, but today, not so much. She was talking a lot. She was just super bubbly. She was talking about her boyfriend who was coming to visit, and it was just totally unlike her. And she had showed up with a bottle of wine, although Barbara said she didn't witness her drink any of it. But anyways, the appointment carries on, and about halfway through, Cynthia looks over at the pond, and she notices that just off the bank in the water, there is a 10-foot or just over 3-meter long American alligator, and she's fascinated by this. And Barbara says, oh yeah, he's been here for the last 20 years, we just don't mess with him. So the appointment continues on and they finish up, and when they do, Barbara begins to tidy up the porch, move chairs back where they were, when she turns around and notices that Cynthia has made her way down through the yard to the bank, and she's standing really close to this alligator taking pictures of it on her cell phone. And Barbara immediately begins to yell and scream at her, hey, get back from there. I witnessed this alligator take a deer off the shore just yesterday. And Cynthia yells back at Barbara, and she says, well, I don't look like a deer. Now, Barbara's husband at this point can hear this commotion, and so can a next-door neighbor, and both men make their way outside when Cynthia does the unthinkable. She steps in the water with the alligator, and she reaches out, and she's going to try and pet it. And as soon as she does this, this 10-foot-long alligator lunges forward and grabs her by the left leg and begins to drag her out into deeper water. The two men start sprinting down to the water. The neighbor grabs a rope. They get down there at the same time, and the neighbor throws the rope out to Cynthia. She grabs it, and now the two men are having a tug of war between them and this alligator for Cynthia. And then Cynthia would look up at them and just very calmly say, well, I guess that's the last time I'll ever do that. And then this alligator would put her into a death roll. And it would take her underwater, and they would not see her again. They called the police, the fire department, the police show up. For 15 minutes, they don't see anything. But then the alligator surfaces. It's still got Cynthia's body in its mouth, and then it immediately takes her back down before it resurfaces again. The police shoot the alligator 5 times, once in the head, 4 more times. It releases her, they retrieve her body, which is intact, but her left leg was totally mangled. And she had unfortunately drowned in that 15 minutes.
How is she trying to pet that?
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, two men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese, even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Cicerio was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple of days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
Man, they were like getting real life superpowers, bro.
Top 3 urban legends that turned out to be true. Part 1. Number 3. The sewer crocodile. One of the most famous urban legends is about a crocodile living in the city sewers. While it may sound unbelievable, there have been several cases where crocodiles have been found in sewer systems. For example, in 2010, a young crocodile was discovered in the sewers of New York City, confirming the truth behind this urban legend. Number 2. Spiders and bananas. According to this urban legend, venomous spiders frequently hide in imported banana bunches. This story has proven to be true on multiple occasions. In 2005, a British family found a venomous spider, known as the Brazilian wandering spider, in a bunch of bananas they purchased from a supermarket. This case confirmed that there is some truth to this urban legend. Number 1. The killer. Hiding in the back seat. This urban legend tells the story of a psychopathic killer who hides in the back seat of a person's car and attacks when they are distracted. While it's difficult to find specific cases that exactly match this legend, there have been incidents where dangerous individuals have gained access to the backseat of cars and attacked their occupants. These events have confirmed the importance of being cautious and checking the inside of one's car.
So I found these conspiracy theories that are so believable, they actually might be true.
Talk about it.
Number 1, studies show that cats understand human commands but don't care to follow them. Yeah, I don't like cats. I'm a dog kind of guy. Number 2, it is believed that when you die in a dream, you wake up because your brain doesn't know how to process the idea of what comes after death. Could be. I believe it. Number 3. Now this is scary. The reason Disney came out with a movie called Frozen was so that when you Googled Disney Frozen, you would get information about the movie and not the websites talking about Walt Disney's body being frozen. I mean, I did see an article about this that was published in 1995. Not sure if this is true or not, but I do believe it. This is where it gets freaky. Number 4. Mike Tyson's fight, time traveler. This fight was in 1995. If you look closely, you can see that that could be a smartphone. In fact, it does look like a smartphone to me. There were no smartphones in 1995. This is how phones used to look like in 1995. They didn't have cameras. They barely had any color. But this thing double flashed, exactly like how an iPhone or an Android would take a picture. I don't know about time travel, but this is very interesting. I'd really like to know what this thing was. What's the creepiest conspiracy theory that you heard of?
I think the one that got to me was probably like the time travel joint by Mike Tyson, because he showed us a graphic of those phones. They did not match up at all. I don't know if that could have been like a different version of prototype or something, man, or a different type of camera, but I think that one got to me the most, man. Time travel.
The 3 most dangerous places you should never set foot. Number 3. The Hoia Baciu Forest, located in Romania, is often dubbed the Haunted Forest due to the many paranormal stories reported there. Many visitors have described feelings of anxiety, a sense of being watched, and some even claim to have seen ghostly apparitions. In addition to the inexplicable phenomena, the forest features oddly shaped trees in areas where vegetation doesn't grow at all, heightening its mysterious ambience. Number 2. The Chernobyl zone in Ukraine is the site of the biggest nuclear disaster in history. In 1986, a reactor at the nuclear power plant exploded, releasing significant amounts of radioactive material into the environment. Today, while some parts of the region are open for strictly controlled tours, others remain highly contaminated by radiation and can pose a severe health hazard. It's crucial to adhere to safety guidelines and not stray off marked paths. Number 1. The Valley of the Kings in Egypt, located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor, is famous for its royal tombs dating back to ancient Egypt. While it's a popular tourist destination, it comes with risks. Beyond natural dangers like extreme heat and the risk of dehydration, there have been speculations and legends about the Pharaoh's curse, where those who disturb the Pharaoh's tombs would be cursed.
This might ruin your
I ain't going there.
But in the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, there's a really dark joke in there that a lot of people missed. In this scene, you can see the presidents of Mount Rushmore getting pied in the face. But pay attention to Abraham Lincoln. Unlike the other presidents, he gets pied in the back of the head, which is exactly how he was assassinated in life.
Oh, what? I never even picked up on that, man. These movies, man, they have hidden messages. When you're a kid, you just don't get it.
What is going on here? This robot is literally serving drinks at a bar at an event recently hosted by Elon Musk.
There you go.
Our robot.
Everybody, get pictures. Get my good side. Optimus #1. Robots are the future. How's it going, sir? What can I get you? Want a watermelon? I can't convince you to get the robot? Okay, I'll get you one. Just kidding.
No!
You're not going so far. There you go. Ice cold beverage.
Now, this robot created by Elon, which he named Optimus, isn't only capable of serving drinks. Apparently, it can do a lot more. Apparently, Optimus can dance and interact with people, and it can do things around the house, like cleaning, cooking, mowing the lawn, taking out the garbage, walking your dogs, and also babysitting. I'm sorry, but if this robot can actually do all these things, then I don't see how people wouldn't want one. Tesla's vision for Optimus is so that people can integrate this robot in their everyday lives so that it can do things that we don't want to do or things that are just repetitive or dangerous. When I first saw this, I immediately thought about iRobot, which came out in 2004, which is funny because the director of iRobot recently accused Elon of copying his designs for his new Tesla products, and he tweeted this. Now, if you see a side-by-side, you can kind of see a resemblance. It's been said that Optimus would first be used internally at Tesla facilities, and then it will expand its productions for other companies, and then eventually for the general public. So it's possible that you can have one of these in your house by 2027. Now, the price for one of these is around 20 to 30K, and Elon mentioned that he is aiming to make it more affordable so that more people can buy it. But if Optimus can really cook, clean, and do my laundry, take my money, Elon. No, but seriously, would you guys actually drop this much money for this? Let me know.
I'll speak for me. No! No! Like, our robot was the blueprint. Didn't you not see what happened in that movie, man? The side-by-side comparisons. The designs, they too similar to me, bro. We seen how that, man. They trying to rise up against us. No! I will not be getting that Tesla bot. No. I can't do that.
Conspiracy theory claims that the show was inspired by events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land. Children there were isolated from the others and placed in dark rooms. But apparently 4 of those children died on the same day, inspiring the Teletubbies. Lala apparently had facial disfigurement and was isolated for 5 years, and that inspired the Teletubby Lala. Toitei was a deaf, facially disfigured kid who was tied to a fence outside and had gotten frostbitten from the cold. This inspired Tinky Winky. Donka, who was starved and was very, very sick, would lay in his own vomit for days, inspired Dipsy. And finally, Paulina, who had fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspired Poe. But you won't believe the reason they were called the Teletubbies. You see, the children's main source of entertainment in their rooms were their TVs. They were as small as a small iPad. Sometimes when they heard their toys was going to be confiscated, they would hide them in their mouths. And they had just found out that the institution was going to get rid of the TVs. And they didn't want that, and they couldn't hide the TVs in their mouths. So one of them had the great idea to hide them in their stomachs, because that's the only place they could fit. Mind you, these kids are a little bit not all the way there. So they came up with a plan to rip their insides out in order to fit the TVs inside and hide them. They tried it, and the next morning, the caregiver walked in on all 4 children, dead.
These are facts about Halloween that I
Teletubbies,
bet
Dark
you didn't
Origins.
know. Up first, Halloween is extremely old. Halloween is thought to have originated in 4000 BC, which means Halloween has been around for more than 6,000 years. This is extremely crazy, and I never knew it was this old. Up next, jack-o'-lanterns are actually named after a stingy man named Jack, who, because he tricked the devil several times, he was forbidden access to heaven and hell. He was then condemned to wander Earth, waving his lantern to lead people away from their paths. Next up is a pretty crazy statistic. Americans alone will buy more than 600 million pounds of candy on Halloween. I don't even know why there is this much candy available to buy. And the crazy thing is, I guarantee all this candy gets eaten.
Man, I didn't know Halloween was that old, bro. 6,000 years? How old are the other holidays? Before? He's sitting up.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise. Next is the Petrifying Well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
This is the Tower of Time. These are the footprints of the monk Ha-Chi. He stood in his temple for so many years that the floorboards warped around his feet. He prays over 3,000 times a day and always stands in the same place. This bronze arm was attached to a tree when it was just a baby. It was attached in 1968 and the tree actually grew around it. And today the arm is permanently attached to the tree. And this is a corner of a bike store that's been around for over 50 years. Customers park there every day and it's been wearing down ever since.
Hell in different religions, part 2.
Time is powerful.
Buddhism. In Buddhism, after you die, you can be reborn into one of the 6 realms of reincarnation. Which realm you'll be put into depends on your actions in your previous life. The lowest realm possible is the realm of Naraka, which is hell. Now, there are different Narakas you can be put into, it just depends on how bad you were in your previous life. Each of these Narakas having vastly different punishments. And the climates in the different Narakas can range from incredibly cold to boiling hot. But the time spent in Naraka is never eternal. Once you've served your punishment, you'll be reborn once again. But the time one does spend in Naraka can be hundreds of millions of years, or well beyond that.
That long down there? Hundreds of millions of years?
The Muffin Man is actually a serial killer. You know the Muffin Man nursery rhyme, right? But did you know it was based on a dark, true story? 1 second. Chocolate chip. Tastes like your mama boning. But yeah, the story is darker than you think. Because in the 1800s, there was a man named Frederick Thomas Linwood. And he would wait lurking in alleys, looking for his next victims. And they would always be kids. You see, he would kidnap them and unalive them, luring them in with muffins. I mean, what kid wouldn't want a tasty snack? When the townspeople got word of what was happening, they decided to come together and figure out a way to prevent this, to spread awareness amongst the kids and keep them safe, warning them about the Muffin Man, who was a danger on Drury Lane. You're walking past the alleyway, and the Muffin Man gets you. Your fourth act sees this and tries to rescue you. Let me know who it is, and let me know if you think you'd be doomed or not. Anyways, he's one of the first documented serial killers in the world. And everyone still teaches this song to their kids, even children TV shows. And yet nobody knows that
the Muffin Man, you know, I know the Muffin Man because of Shaq. The Muffin Man? They found out that it really was a dark origins. The first documented, you know what, man? Oh, they put this stuff in our medias when we're kids and things, but like I said, we never notice it, man. Once you grow up, bro, you realize your childhood is very different.
you won't believe this little boy actually exists. This boy, 9-year-old Swede from China, was born with glowing eyes. People were curious why his eyes glow blue, so they ran a test on him. They put him in pitch black with cards and a note, and he read them perfectly. His eyes seem to have a genetic ability of cats and other nocturnal animals. Scientists have been a little skeptical, but people say he can see in full darkness perfectly, like a superhero.
Damn. You got night vision, bro.
In the year 2067, you'll have to pay for oxygen or suffocate to death. This movie is called 2067 and we have to talk about it. It's set in the future after climate change destroyed all plants on Earth. In Australia, only one city survived. And that's because of a company called Chronocorp Corporation, and they make artificial oxygen. But breathing in this artificial oxygen causes a strange sickness over time. Here's where the main character, Ethan White, comes in. He's a mechanic at the company, but one day everything changes. The leader of the company calls Ethan into their lab and revealed this giant machine. She says Ethan is the only person who can stop humanity from going extinct, and Ethan is confused. Then we see Ethan has like a weird device on his wrist. And we find out 20 years ago his dad put that device on him for an experiment and never told him. Turns out this machine is actually pretty much a time machine. And it sent back a secret message from the future. When they decoded the message, they realized it said send Ethan White. Ethan obviously does not want to go, but his wife is sick from breathing in too much artificial oxygen, so he finally agrees, leaves her a note, and goes into the time machine to be sent to the year 2474. When he gets here, he realizes all the plants have been restored, but no humans are anywhere. Then he finds a locked door with a skeleton in front of it. As he looks closer, he realizes the skeleton is himself. It even has the same wrist device, except the light has turned green. So why did his dad actually put that device on him all those years ago? And why is he the chosen one to save humanity? There's a huge plot twist in the end, and I just thought this story was so interesting. So go watch it and let me know what you think. And follow for more movies and stories.
Should I check that out, man? That actually piqued my interest. I wonder what that plot twist is, man. Any of you seekers actually watched that movie 2067? I'm gonna have to check that out.
3 extremely disturbing facts you won't believe are actually true. Number 3. In a bizarre case, an Ohio man was mistakenly declared dead by the Social Security Administration in 1979. Upon discovering this error in 1994, he immediately initiated legal action to restore his status as a living person. However, a judge refused to overturn the decision, stating that there was a 3-year limit to challenge such a declaration.
What?
As a result, this man is legally living as a deceased person in his own country. Number 2. There's a disturbing practice at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. The chicks that hatch live in front of visitors in their chick hatching exhibit are then sent to the Brookfield Zoo, where they are fed to predator animals. This is a shocking truth hidden behind a seemingly innocent exhibit. Number 1. Disneyland and Disney World are iconic places, often associated with joyful family memories. However, there's a strange phenomenon that occurs in these parks. People so frequently scatter the ashes of their loved ones there that Disney had to establish a special procedure to deal with it. A dedicated team is ready to intervene as soon as an ash scattering is reported, cleaning up the area to maintain the park's joyful atmosphere.
Here's some facts that'll make you smarter. Part 1. Bananas are not actually fruits, they're herbs. And this is because the stem of the banana is succulent and not wood. Scientists say that it's less likely to rain on a Monday than any other day of the week. Reason is that Mondays carry less pollution over the weekend. If you drop a piece of toast, it'll almost always land butter side down. Try this one out and let me know. And finally, the hardest language for an English speaker to learn is Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, or Korean.
Oh, really?
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. PT.3. If you're wearing earplugs listening to music, and you hear someone calling you or the door knocking, there is no one calling. It's the ghost informing you of their presence. The inventors of the Ouija board claim it got its name when they asked it what it should be called. They also asked it what Ouija meant, and it replied, "Good luck." If you're walking and you feel someone behind you, it's a ghost looking at you. The human body can feel the presence of ghosts.
I think I felt something like that before, man. When somebody's staring at you,
Proof that mermaid.
but you can't identify what it is. I feel like a chill down my spine. Is this cap a fact, man? They put a GoPro on a shark? But that is true, man. Like how, isn't it scary how like they said like 80% of our ocean is like undiscovered, or we haven't even like reached the full potential of it yet. So there's things down there that we don't even have no idea what it is. If you think about it, man. Something to think on. We hear that? I'm hitting the jets. I'm out.
Today I learned that if your parent calls you by your sibling's name, it's not because they're playing favorites, but rather it's a cognitive glitch. This misnaming phenomenon is due to our mental semantic network categorizing people into different social groups or relationship ponds, according to a 2016 study published in the Memory and Cognition Journal by Samantha Deffler. When I say spoon, you might think of a fork. Similarly, when a mom calls for her daughter, the concept of her daughter is also linked to her son, so she may accidentally call her daughter by her son's name. It was also found that some family members accidentally call each other by their family's dog's name. Deffler also recalls one young man accidentally calling his girlfriend by his sister's name, to which the girlfriend responded, "That's probably a bad sign." Misnaming also occur phonetically when initial or internal sounds sound the same, like John, Johnny, or Bob, but physical appearance and gender was proven to not be a factor. So next time someone calls you by a different name, don't take it personally, but it does give you a clue that your name belongs to a certain relationship pond in that person's mind. Alright, that's all. This is Shankstuff, over and out.
This
interesting
shows
facts.
different sizes of animal eggs. We're starting off with really tiny eggs.
Okay.
So obviously, these ones are no bigger than a Tic Tac. But don't worry, guys. We're gonna get much, much bigger.
Wow, okay.
Platypus. I didn't know platypus had really tiny eggs.
Damn.
Sea turtles. Yes. Okay.
American Robins,
Quail
quail.
eggs. Now, have you guys tried quail eggs? I definitely have, and they're very, very tasty. Chicken eggs, the average. That's the standard.
That's
for
the
eggs,
biggest
right?
one.
Crocodile eggs. They look like Tic Tacs, honestly.
Kiwi,
Kiwi eggs.
damn.
How do they even come out of that? Of the kiwi
A
bird.
flamingo, I'm guessing.
Dragon eggs, I didn't know they existed. Okay, I thought it was a mammoth and mammoth could lay eggs, but obviously it don't. It was a mammoth bird.
Xenomorph, what the
So we're getting in territories where these animals don't exist, and Godzilla egg is taller than a human.
What the hell?
Personas que ganaron superpoderes después de trágicos accidentes. Parte 2. Natasha Delkina, una mujer rusa nacida en el año 1987. A los 10 años tuvo que ser operada de apendicitis y eso cambió completamente su vida. Después de la operación, Natalia afirmaba que tenía visión de rayos X. Como nadie la creía, unos médicos la llevaron a un hospital de niños para ver si sus poderes eran reales. Para sorpresa de todos, diagnosticó correctamente a todos los niños. Su visión de rayos
Skeleton?
X era real. Ahora se dedica a ayudar a las personas y a los médicos a encontrar enfermedades. Cuando Ben Underwood nació, parecía un chico completamente sano, pero a los 3 años, por culpa de una enfermedad, le tuvieron que extirpar los 2 ojos. Pero a partir de ese suceso desarrolló la ecolocalización. Ben podía ver a la perfección con sus oídos y podía hacer cualquier tipo de cosa como una persona sin problemas de visión.
I know those are all people with, I guess, new abilities and something that they had gained. You're piecing together the story, seekers, man. We learned that skill together. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Make sure you guys comment down below. Follow me on my social medias. Subscribe to the channel. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.